When a species is long forgotten underneath ancient permafrost, things start to look dire. But new scientific efforts are tapping into long-forgotten DNA to build a bridge to the past. The question is, are we able to see the dead return to life? Or is something completely new walking the earth in life, death, and taxonomy? Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It is your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I am Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, would you kindly search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify?
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And a very special thank you to our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on. We have a new patron, Michael. Thank you so much for being a part of the LD Taxonomy family, a taxonomy titan. Welcome. If you out there would like to donate, if anyone else would like to donate, just visit patreon.com/LD Taxonomy or click on donate on our website.
A double thank you for that, because it is a donation. We're really not doing anything that you have to pay to see, because we really don't think there's anything you would want we're not like doing something groundbreaking that we think that deserves money. It is just to help us keep the lights on, help us keep this going, and we appreciate it a million times over.
I feel like we're doing something groundbreaking. We are bringing obscure animal research to the people in an entertaining and engaging way. That's groundbreaking.
Well, I shouldn't say that I don't want to say that we're doing something worthless. But we're willing to do it. We've been doing it for free, and we really appreciate the icing. The going above and beyond to put the team on your back.
Yes, so that we don't have to go out of pocket on both time and money to make this happen. Mm-hmm. We've been doing this for 8 years now. Can you believe it? I think I've already reminisced recently about the about the amount of time we've been doing this. But yeah, it's been good. We can keep going. Mm-hmm. Thanks to our patrons.
Yeah. Today we're talking about a pup from the past, but more on that later.
Past pup. Yep. We are talking about the things that Joan of Arc brings with her in Age of Empires 2 whenever you get her as a hero. The symbol of Winterfell. Winterfell? Yes, Winterfell. It is the dire wolf, which is also known as.
It's a critical wolf.
Yes, it's crucial. It is critical. It is
imperative.
Yes. It's the imperative wolf. That's at the end of Thor Ragnarok. The imperative wolf fought the credible Hulk.
The indelible bulk.
We're gonna call the dire wolf here Stark Differences, and of course Jurassic Bark. I couldn't not put that one in there. I can't take credit for it. It's a Futurama joke, but still, it is the most appropriate nickname for this situation for sure. But let's taxonomize the dire wolf in case you want to hear even more Latin. The kingdom is one you know, love, and are in. That is Animalia, of course. The phylum, Chordata. it has a spine or has a neurocord, as we mentioned earlier, that it's not just because you have vertebra, but you need the notochord. Sorry, not neurocord. You need the notochord to be in chordata. The class is Mammalia. Mm-hmm. The order is Carnivora. We are so far on wolf track. The family is Canidae, still wolf track. But here's where we diverge, because for a wolf, the genus is Canis. But here the genus is Enosion. And the species is Dirus. So the binomial nomenclature is Enosion dirus, but some have made the claim that it should be in Canis dirus. Putting it over there with wolves and dogs. But I think the general consensus, innocent until proven guilty, is putting it in its own genus, for reasons that will become apparent later on. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show, and the listener's favorite part of the show, is proven by an unbiased and unrigged election. Nitty-gritty nomenclature. This is the part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that is, what is the English translation for the binomial nomenclature? I mean, it's a wolf. Wolves run around in packs. Okay, we got it. Critter groups is not going to work here, but nitty-gritty nomenclature is the way to go. What does Enosion dirus mean in English? Does it mean A, terrible, terrible dog? Does it mean B, strong blue jaw? Does it mean C, king shield terror? Or does it mean D, fearful gold dog?
Terrible, terrible dog, I guess. Final answer.
That is correct.
Really? So the subspecies Enosion dirus is terrible, 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 terrible dog? Or is dirus dog?
No. Scion is dog.
Okay.
So it's Enosion. So the first part, the ana comes from anos, which is terrible. Mm-hmm. Scion is dog. So that right off the bat, Enosion means terrible dog. And terrible not in like a bad, like it's like, oh, this
terrifying.
It's terrifying. Yes, it is. What is it? So the terrifying, to induce fear. And then dirus also means to fear. It is the Latin infinitive for to fear. So also terror inducing. So terrible, terrible.
So it's the subspecies is the terrible, terrible, terrible dog.
So it would be terrible dog, terrible, terrible. I guess if you wanted to go. Enosion dirus.
Is it Latin? Because then
yes.
Wouldn't the adjectives are afterward. So it's terrible dog, which is terrible and terrible.
Yes. But yeah.
Nice.
And you know what? If I can't blame the naming here. It is, as we will see, a big wolf, which would be terror-inspiring and therefore terrible. Let's talk about what it looks like. So I don't know if we mentioned this already, but this dog, this wolf, the dire wolf, is extinct. It lived back in the Pleistocene era. And this is the first time we've done an extinct animal on this show. We were thinking about doing some cryptids for a little while, and that didn't end up panning out. But this is our first extinct animal.
Did we do the thylacine?
I don't think so.
The Tasmanian tiger.
We did the Tasmanian devil, and we've done, but we haven't done even things that have recently gone extinct, like the Tasmanian tiger or the dodo. So, yeah. For the dire wolf, imagine a gray wolf, but you on the character creation screen at the beginning of the RPG, that slider for thin and thick was definitely on the thick side. This is a buff boy. This is a buff wolf, stockier, meaner. The fur is a mottled mess of gray and brown and black, sometimes white. This is perfect for blending into the Pleistocene era, which is most commonly associated with the Ice Age. It has a thick, coarse coat, and a large head, a whitish snout, at least in comparison to other wolves. It has very large, strong teeth that could seem like they could double as a can opener, and has stout and stocky legs, but still has the cute face of a dog. So give it that. But it's not like when I remember the idea of a dire wolf is like, oh, this is a wolf the size of a tiger. That was what I thought. It's just an enormous, like 700 or 800 pound dog, and I learned that that was not the case.
No.
It is big, stockier though, not necessarily bigger in size. But how big is it, Joe?
It's a great question. Welcome to the beloved Measure Up segment, the official listeners part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering the words Measure Up into thetaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new Measure Up intro this week, but that means we get to hear from a dire wolf. Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. I mean, a part of the show.
Yeah,
one of many.
That's false advertising.
To hold it.
Their mother's dead.
Do you know who that? Who's making those puppy sounds?
I something happened. I don't know. I didn't hear much. I heard something about dead.
Oh, you know what? The noise gate. Teams' noise gate. Maybe cut it out. But
yeah. I don't know of any dire wolves.
What's the most famous dire wolf in pop culture right now? Dire wolves.
The ones you're about to talk about.
No. In pop culture, in fiction.
Oh, the Game of Thrones ones.
Yes, it was them.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. Ghost. And I forget the others.
I did not remember their names at all. But yeah, that's why I said stark differences.
Yeah. So the dire wolf is approximately 38 inches, which is not 0.97 meters. Does that help you?
Not
it's
not
like
even a little bit.
It's like 6 feet.
That is not 6 feet.
This is wrong. Hold on. At the shoulder. Excuse me. So we're talking about at the shoulder. It's 6 feet long, and it's about 3 feet, a little more than 3 feet at the shoulder.
Okay.
6 feet long is pretty good if you're not counting the tail, and 3 feet. It's like I guess we'll get into it in a bit. The largeness of it is definitely its stoutness rather than like it's not remarkably long or tall, but I mean, for a wolf, it's a big wolf. As you know, a wolf, it's large. So how many dire wolves fit into a? Oh, here's how many dire wolves fit. I don't know how to set these up. Blah 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 blah. A, one goes into the height of a Megaloceros gigantus or an Irish elk. B, two go into the length of a Similodon fatalis or a saber-toothed cat. Or C, three go into the height of a Glyptodon. You know what a Glyptodon is? It's those big armadillos.
So we're talking about Pleistocene era megafauna, right?
Mm-hmm.
Armadillos are cool. That one.
Final answer, 3.
Yeah, Glyptodon.
The correct answer was the saber-toothed cat, 2.
No.
In fact, all 3 of these is, if you round, is 2. Goes into it. 2 goes into the height of the Irish elk. 2 goes into the height of the Glyptodon. 2 go into the length of the saber-toothed cat. It's a big cat. 12 feet ish. 5 or not 12 feet.
Yeah. Oh no, you said height.
Height, yeah.
6 feet.
Yeah. 6 feet. About the same size. Weight of the direwolf. The direwolf weighs approximately 150 pounds. Big for a canine. 68 kilograms. How many direwolves fit into the weight of these prehistoric animals? 21. 21 go into the weight of a Coleodonta antiquitatis, which is a woolly rhinoceros.
You have bitten off a lot.
B, 59 go into the weight of a Megatherium americanum, which is the giant ground sloth. Or C, 9 go into the weight of a juvenile Mammuthus primigenus, which is the woolly mammoth.
I mean, unless you have a preserved specimen, how do you know how much these things weigh?
Probably like the flesh to bone ratio of a regular wolf, and you're just like, I don't know. It's probably something around this. Unless
a wolf is one thing, but like these are because we have something analogous.
Yeah.
Now, but like
how do
a
they
giant
do it for,
sloth.
How do they do it for dinosaurs that are much older than these that they found like a tooth for? It's like, oh my, they're just filling in gaps with gaps. They're filling in gaps with stuff they filled in gaps to get. That's how these things work.
Just imagine find 1,000 years from now finding an orangutan skeleton and assuming that assuming its weight from that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like for a lot of these, there may have been a lot more or a lot less going on outside of just their bones.
Yeah, what if a T-Rex
actually, no,
fat?
There's definitely not a lot less going on than just their bones. I can confidently say that they had at least their bones going on, but then there could be more.
Yeah, what if they just had like a ton of cartilage appendages just shooting off of them?
Or just they had a lot of fat storage, like an orangutan, like a lot of fatty like jowls or flaps or heavy hair or cartilaginous appendages and stuff like that. You don't know.
It's definitely a rough estimate. At least for these, like a woolly rhinoceros, we have modern versions of these things. So we know what they're shaped like.
Not a sloth. I mean, we have a modern sloth. We don't have a sloth that is anywhere near the size of the giant one. At least a woolly rhinoceros and a woolly mammoth is like, we got like elephants and rhinoceri, whatever. Okay, the rhinoceros. End of story. Final answer.
The correct
submit.
The correct answer is B. 59 going to the ground sloth.
You chose B twice, man.
Yes, I did. I know, right? I almost never choose C.
Yeah, but now you're going to.
Who knows? Yeah. So direwolf, 150 pounds, 3 feet at the shoulder, 6 feet long, big dog. How big is a gray wolf?
Are you asking me that?
Yeah. How big do you think a gray wolf is? Pretty much
about the same.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, they're like, I guess on average a little bigger, a little stockier, but they're generally about the same. Yeah, it's a stockiness thing. They're not giants. Which is funny because they live in a world of giant versions of stuff we have now. You'd think, oh man, this direwolf's going to be huge. It's like it's a wolf size, pretty effective, I guess.
Well, and then like all of the fantasy recreations of dire wolves have people riding on them because they're the size of like big cats. So I think like Elden Ring, they have guys riding on dire wolves, and then I think they ride on dire wolves in Game of Thrones, or at least they're big enough to do that. So it's you kind of get it into your head that, and it jives with all of the other megafauna that we know about. But then you find out, oh, it's just a normal pupper.
Yeah.
Well, let's do some fast facts before we get into the major fact. It originally roamed North America from coast to coast in the grassy plains and forests of the Ice Age. Ice Age does not necessarily mean that the entire world was covered in ice, like the DreamWorks movie might have you believe. It's just that it was colder than it is now, on average. And there was more ice, it wasn't like Hoth. So the dire wolf was carnivorous. If their order did not make that apparent, they ate meat. They eat deer, bison, anything that they were slower than and could take down as a pack. And in the same vein, they were pack hunters. And in a world where they were surrounded by these megafauna, these larger versions of elk and armadillos and sloths and tiger and saber-toothed tigers and stuff like that, and bears, this pack mentality was a great asset and something that their descendants used to great effect, because it turns out it's their strength in numbers. They were likely monogamous and seemed to live about 10 to 15 years in the wild. That's one where I can be like, okay, I can see like they probably got that one down pat, like their lifespan, because you could just look at their tooth and see how old they were when they died. And they the assumption is that they were apex predators, but as youngins, as pups, probably needed to look out for things like saber-tooth cats, other rival packs of dire wolves. But these days, they only have to worry about animal rights protesters. Boom! Sting. Apparently their jaws were so strong that they could crush a bone as easy as we would crush a potato chip.
Wow, really?
Be easy, like breaking a toothpick. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, so one of the reasons they, like, they think that they went extinct is that they were like even more specialized than than gray wolves to go after megafauna. So they were pack hunters that brought down large prey. So once the large prey started to die out or whatever, they couldn't outcompete gray wolves in getting small prey. They weren't as good at hunting rabbits and rats and small things, which gray wolves became good at both. They could take down, today they take down like moose and large deer and bison, but they can also take down, like, hunt smaller prey, which is more abundant. So they were better. They were more generalized. So they survived, outcompeted the dire wolf. The dire wolf died out.
More abundant and less dangerous.
Yeah.
But so we should have put the dire wolf should have had the dire wolf lived in Africa, maybe it would have been a different story.
Yeah. But it lived in the Americas where most of the megafauna has died out. Is that the case? So yeah, like here's the major fact. Normally we do only extant animals. In fact, exclusively we've done extant animals, and technically, sort of, in a particular way, we're still sticking to that rule. So
that is Obi-Wan logic.
Yeah.
So what I told you was true from a certain point of view. Certain point of view.
A Dallas-based biotechnology company called Colossal Biosciences says they have de-extincted the dire wolf after what is a hiatus of 10,000 years. The company announced the birth of 3 pups, 2 males and a female. 2 males are Romulus and Remus. Nice.
Of course they are.
And
not a hint of creativity in all those scientists.
They were born in October 1st, 2024. And the female is Khaleesi, born January 30th, 2025. And they currently live on a super secret 2,000-acre preserve in the United States, where they're able to exhibit wild, non-domestic behavior. They can let them roam a little bit and see what they do and see how they act. But so how did they do this? Is it like Jurassic Park? Did they clone them? So they aren't cloned. Turns out, I guess you can't get a full genome really from bones and fossils. And that's what you would need for a direct cloning. So they aren't directly cloned, but Colossal Biosciences employed a combination process that combined DNA analysis, gene editing, and cloning to quote unquote de-extinct the dire wolf. So here's how it went. They obtained DNA from dire wolf remains from 2 specimens, a 13,000-year-old tooth and a 72,000-year-old inner ear bone. And these samples provided fragments of the dire wolf genome, which was incomplete, but because of degradation over time, which DNA does. But still, it offered a genetic blueprint to work from. Then they compared the what they had from the direwolf DNA to gray wolf DNA now, as a starting point, as the closest living relative. We're going to take the DNA from both and see how they're different. So the 2 species share fairly common ancestry, but you mentioned like they divert at that genus level. So by sequencing the gray wolf's genome and comparing it to the ancient dire wolf DNA, they're identifying like major differences, where the key differences are. So then they use CRISPR, which is gene editing, a precision gene editing tool. They modified a gray wolf's genome to incorporate direwolf traits. So, like, if you remember from Jurassic Park, they explained it like, well, there was gaps in the DNA that we filled
DNA.
with frog DNA. Here, it's very similar, but the opposite. Like, it's like if they took the frog DNA and just replaced the differences that they found with direwolf DNA.
To make a slightly stockier frog. Instead of a whole dinosaur.
Yeah.
That would have been a much more tame version of that movie. It's like they just go to an island full of just beefy frogs.
So the particular gene, some of the particular points that like adding these genes definitely changed is they have white coats. Their coats are very different. They have stark white coats. And then they're large. They have larger bodies, stronger jaws, which is stuff we like. They thought about direwolves, so it's interesting that like, okay, that's right, strong jaws. And so like they definitely exhibit the physique of a wolf that's slightly more specialized in taking down megafauna. And if you look at the pictures, they've got like these more pronounced like fur, almost like a fox has, like the cheek fur. And their noses look bigger and maybe a little bit more like it almost looks like they have an overbite. Their top jaw, their nose extends a little bit more than their lower jaw. The
analysis is that they are too cute.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So instead of a traditional cloning method that requires tissue biopsies, Colossal developed a less invasive technique using blood samples from gray wolves. They extracted the DNA from a gray wolf blood, edited the direwolf traits into it, and created a modified genome. Then this edited DNA is inserted into enucleated egg cells, eggs with their original nucleus removed from gray wolves. So like the powerhouse, the engine, you replace that with this new direwolf edited gene. And then the embryos were implanted into surrogate gray wolf hound hybrid mothers. And the reason they wanted that is because like they didn't know what was going to happen. So they wanted healthy, large mothers that could handle pregnancy. Like what if the direwolf was larger in its fetal development? They wanted a big dog to be able to handle it. So then the process yielded 3 pups. And unlike domestic dogs, they displayed wild behavior, suggesting the edits were successfully influencing their instincts. They weren't just like taking after their mothers, I guess. And then,
but the mothers was a surrogate.
Yeah,
so it's not like
exactly,
why would they take anything out of the hound?
Well, yeah, I mean they wouldn't. They were wolves too, so like even if they're like gray wolves, they're gonna be wild, right?
Right, yeah. So it shouldn't have been surprising that they acted wild. They're like 97% gray wolf.
I mean, but you can still see a picture of George R.R. Martin holding one as a puppy, like as maybe a 3-month-old. It looks pretty big, but big enough for an old man to hold.
They invited George R. R. Martin.
Oh, I think he was either an investor. I think he might have been an investor. Like they did a photo shoot with them on the Game of Thrones throne.
Interesting.
So, what do critics say about this? Are we looking at a direwolf? So, since this method blends cloning with gene editing, some say it's different from pure de-extinction, which would require a complete ancient genome. Colossal's approach prioritizes ecological restoration, which is what their term for reviving a direwolf's role in nature. So like we're gonna make an animal that could fill the direwolf role in nature. So in terms of function, it is a direwolf.
So an animal that went extinct because its role in nature was no longer needed is being resurrected so that it can fill an obsolete role in nature. They're going to release it into North America to take down all the megafauna we have?
They're not releasing it, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that, why that's their priority. So it's not an exact... that they prioritize that over genetic replication. So the same blood-based cloning technique was also applied to produce 4 endangered red wolves, which hints at a broader conservation technique that they are using on the direwolf as a kind of like proof of concept, but it's more valuable for stuff like red wolves, which were like, habitat loss, blah, 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 blah. They're valuable still to nature. So if we can prevent them from becoming endangered or going extinct, then this method of prioritizing ecological restoration makes more sense. It makes more sense for a red wolf than it does for a direwolf.
Okay.
So another issue is that, like what you're saying, skeptics are like, "What do you mean? They're ecologically irrelevant. They've died out because their ecological role is gone. So they existed to megafauna that doesn't exist. So it suggests that this is more of a spectacle, and 100% that's what it is. The reason they're going after these big things is to, like with the woolly mammoth and the direwolf, is to get A, a proof of concept, B, immense public interest, and investor dollars to do something more important, like rescue the red wolf, or like do other stuff that's important for preventing.
It's like politicking.
Yeah.
They're like they're putting on the show to secure buy-in for actually moving the needle.
Exactly. So then other people say, this is scientific overreach, because the use of CRISPR to tweak a living species genome rather than fully construct an extinct one is seen as a shortcut, but also the fact that, like, when you're editing genes, especially ancient genes, we don't okay, this gene, we edited it and now it made its fur white. But genes aren't like code where it's kind of like one-to-one. This is what does that. Genes can also do multiple things. So we're editing this gene in, which we know makes its fur white. But what if it also makes it,
shoot lasers out of its eyes?
Shoot lasers out of its eyes. But like, we don't know. We just don't know, like, what the effects of this gene editing is going to be. What if it makes it a hyper-aggressive mega predator that eats all the other things in the area? So there's that, and yeah, I mean ethical concerns, playing God, all the typical things you might hear from somebody, like all the things that John Hammond heard, bringing things back from the dead. That were.
They cloned a sheep back in like the 40s, so we've been able to do this for a long time. And CRISPR's been a thing for 10, 15 years now. And the only thing holding it back is these ethical considerations, like the idea that you could use CRISPR to like customize what kind of baby you're about to have, or do things like extend people's lives by changing their genes. But I like the idea of having a clone of myself so that I can harvest organs that I might need in the future. That's from the island.
And then there's also the priorities. People are saying like, well, why would you pour time and money into reviving this? And I don't really like that concept. It's the same they use for space stuff. It's like, if a private company wants to spend their money doing some crazy project that is interesting to people, fine, let them. It's their
It doesn't
money.
have to be interesting to people. It
They're
just
not
has to be something that they want to do.
Right, exactly. But like they're not burning the money and making it disappear. They're spending the money. It's going somewhere. It still exists.
Even if they were burning the money, it's their prerogative to do that.
Well,
if they were burning investor dollars, then they're going to answer for that. But that's just going to be that's how it works.
But everyone's always like, why would you spend the money on this instead of that? And it's just like, the money exists still. Like it doesn't like go tell the people if like I spent the money, it's over there now. I just moved the money. It's over there now. Get them to do the thing you want to do, It's it's such a weird...
You should be knocking on the doors of all of the researchers that they were working with and saying like, "Hey, can you use your salary that you got paid to do this to do something that I want to do? Why don't we ever do what I want to do?"
Because it's not, you don't have the money. I have the money. I'm doing what I want to do. But
they did the same thing with the Notre Dame restoration a few years ago when everyone was throwing like millions of dollars at restoration. Like, why don't you feed people with that? Like, it's their prerogative to do that with.
You know who else made that argument?
Money.
Judas.
Yeah, Judas did. Judas did make that argument, except I would not compare Notre Dame to Jesus.
That's true. But it is a good point. It's good to bring up in the sense that like some things are worth the money, and it's okay. Some things.
I mean, I wouldn't even say that. I'd say that it doesn't. I'd just say that's their business. That's their business model. They raise money. They do weird research, and that's how they operate. If you want to do something, if you think that money should go somewhere else, then you raise money. You don't have to have it; just raise it. Anyway, I'm getting off my soapbox.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of considerations in terms of, I think the concept of the debate over whether this is a true direwolf is good.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's not. Maybe a real direwolf wouldn't look like this. I don't know. Maybe some of the stuff we're missing is very distinctive features that the direwolf had.
There's the debate of whether or not this is the direwolf. And then there's the debate over, like, should we be reintroducing extinct species to our current ecological climate?
Mm-hmm.
Those two make sense to me. The third of, like, should they be doing something better with his money does not make sense to me. But the other two is, like, should we revive the woolly mammoth and then just give it a good yeah, and just let it out there. into the wild. Should we be saving species from extinction that are going extinct? Because things have gone extinct forever, as is shown by the dire wolf that went extinct long before we had SUVs. So it's not just human activity that's making things go extinct. Things just fail to adapt, and so they go extinct, and their relatives and descendants that do adapt end up becoming the new representative. So should we be doing intervening in that? Some animals just want to not be animals anymore, like the panda bear. Let it go. It doesn't want to be here anymore. It's specifically not trying to. They're like that Ridley Scott's Noah. Like, listen, God told me that we're done. no more of us. So we're not in. We're just gonna eat until we die. That's my plan here in San Diego or wherever I happen to be situated.
Yeah, this process definitely makes more sense for stuff that did not die out because it lost its ecological niche. Like, what is it? That passenger pigeon that we just blasted away until they were gone. Like, if you want to bring that back, that makes sense. Or like if the axolotl, like that we built a city on top of its only habitat in the world, fine, bring that back or make that healthier. It's not extinct, but give it a healthy population. Yeah, that's fine. But stuff that's like long gone, there's another argument to be made there. The part of there's a I don't know if it's a deep part or a surface part of me that is just, this is cool. It is cool that there's a wolf out there that's got dire wolf DNA. And what I do want to see what these things look like. When you take this DNA and bring it to the future, and put some flesh on these bones, what do they look like? I definitely have a curiosity about that. So,
I mean, obviously the big prize here is the woolly mammoth. Like, to see a woolly mammoth in real life after all of the museums and the movies and all this stuff is seeing one that's not CG.
And that is one of this company's big goals, to bring in the woolly mammoth back. And they've already done this gene editing technique with a mouse. They added woolly mammoth genes to a mouse, made a woolly mouse,
and became woollier.
It really did. That's what it is. It's a woollier mouse.
But the question is, if you took an elephant and gave it mammoth genes and then released it into the wild, would it just be a woolly bully to everyone?
Yeah. So that's the other thing. Like, the dire wolf is not getting released to the wild. It's living on a reserve. But if it got out, could it be bad? I mean, they don't have a reproductive population. But you can
reproduce
understand.
with other wolves.
That's
probably true. Though. Who do we know if they're sterile?
We don't know. I don't know. Maybe they know, but I don't know.
I mean, there's a chance they are, like a lot of the other crossbreeds we make, like mules and ligers and whatnot.
Yeah. Interesting. This woolly mouse, though, that I'm sure there's a lot of people twirling their mustaches and thinking this cute little thing could be a good pet. People would love this.
People would love to comb their mice.
Yeah.
Just get a guinea pig. I guess guinea pigs don't have that long of hair.
I mean, look at it. It's a fuzzy guy. It's very fun. But anyway, That's all I got. I want to know what other people think. Are people appalled by this? Or are they like kind of like what I'm thinking, which is like, I don't know about this, but it certainly is cool.
Yeah. Interesting. I was seeing some articles that were like, that were very straightforward. Like, bafflingly, the CNN article had no opinion on it. Mm-hmm. It was just like, hey, this happened. And I was like, oh, journalism. Can you believe it? And then like Slate was like, this is the worst thing ever, or whatever. I was like, oh, that's what I was expecting.
I don't understand. Yeah. I mean, whatever. I understand the concern. I don't understand being full-chested for or against, you know. No, I actually understand being fully for it. You're just like the John Hammond type, the cool.
Well, everyone else
cool
is the
factor. We got to do it.
Everyone else is the Ian
awesome.
Malcolm type. Malcolm in the middle.
Yeah.
Before you even knew what you had, you packed it up. You sold it.
Well, I mean, if they start selling these things as pets, then yeah, then that's a problem because they get out and they're definitely coming to Florida. Because
everything does.
Yeah.
Everything does. Even a wolf that was supposed to live in the Ice Age is just gonna come and live here, I guess. in the 100 humidity swamp. But
okie dokie.
Yeah, so that was the dire wolf. You got anything else?
That's all I got.
It's a long one. If you're out there in Podcastia, prowl the land as an apex predator. Protect the members of your pack. And then be resurrected as an adorable CRISPR mutant like the dire wolf here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we have a Patreon that you can find by going to ldtaxonomy.com/donate. All of our episodes are uploaded there. Sign up for free to engage with us, leave episode suggestions, or chat with other animal enthusiasts. If you find it in your heart to donate, it will help us cover some costs and continue to make the show. Plus, we'll thank you every week. Most importantly, thank you all for listening.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
CRISPR mutant. I like that.